Hey there. So we picked this up in a previous video. I think it looks pretty cool, but it is kind of rough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to just take some of the rough edges off. We're not going to make this perfect, or absolutely, completely smooth. It might happen, but there's some pretty deep hits in it. But I just want to take the rough edges off. That's all we're going to do. Just ease off the rough edges on this and have a look at how cool they are once they start to get polished up. Now, depending on how much work it needs, we might be able to get through this, in one video. But, yeah, it looks fairly superficial. So we'll be able to take most of these superficial, scratch marks that keep you from seeing the color and the clarity. Be able to take that out and let the stone shine a little bit better. But we'll take you through that and show you the little various steps you need to go through and some of the common tools used. So stick around, and when we come back, we'll show you how that goes. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about cleaning up an agate. Now, this is the one we're talking about. So we're going to show you what you need to do to sort of get that kind of presentable looking. It's fairly decent stone. It's going to clean up pretty good. We're going to use a rotary tool today. This one happens to be a Dremel. You can use, pretty much any rotary tool you've got. But essentially, we use these silicon carbide discs. You can get a pack of them. They come in this little pack here. 15 bucks. But essentially, you're just going to mount it on your, I'm using a pad, polishing disc pad, sort of as a cushion for when I work. You see, I got that cushion on the bottom, so I'm just gonna screw this back together. Just, really, just finger tight. You don't need a wrench. You do not need a screwdriver. You're using this little cushion sort of like a lock washer. Anyway, you pop it in the chuck. You press a little button that holds it down, and it stops the chuck from moving. Tighten it up. Just hand tight. Again, you don't need a wrench for that. And then now your tool is ready to use. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for a second because there are a few other things that we're going to need before we get started. Okay, so we've got a clean basin here that we can start with. Now, one of the more important things that we're going to want to do is make sure that our stone doesn't have anything in it. You can see there's a little stone caught in there. So what I do is I take a little, like an older sewing needle that's kind of dull. I use it as a fine pick to get in there and get that material out. It just pops right out. I dig around in there a little bit, see if I can get anything else out. A little tap. Alright, I think I've got everything out of there that I can get out. And that's fine, because that could potentially break one of your wheels, and you don't want that. So now you look over the rest of the stone, and you see if there's any more embedded material in there that needs to come out. And all you're going to do is just gently go around and just sort of pick away at it and see if there's any loose gravels that come out and pop out. So we got, just go around it. And so now that you've done that, you can think about how you're gonna work the stone. Now obviously working it dry, you can do that, but you're gonna go through blades pretty quick. So I use a gold pan. I'll pour some water in there. But when this stone is wet, you can actually see why we want to clean it up. So you can see that's got some nice color. It's got some really good banding to it. And it really transmits light very nicely. You can see how that's really gonna come alive. It's really cool. So that's kind of the reason we're gonna, well, part of the reason we want to do this with a Dremel. The other reason is it just looks cooler on camera. Let's be honest. But essentially, what you're going to do is I'm going to grab another wheel here so that you can understand what I'm going to do. Essentially, I'll be working along the edge of the wheel. See how the wheel kind of is at an angle, like a really shallow angle to the stone. Alright? And I'm just going to very lightly go along and using the edge of the wheel. Alright? Use the edge of the wheel, just very lightly work along. And that's going to just shave just a little bit of this off. Just, I mean, you know, you'd need a micrometer to measure how much is getting shaved off each time. And the idea is to get in and polish away all of the little cracks and all of the little imperfections that keep you from being able to see the clear parts of the stone. See how you can make that out here? There's some clarity to it. So what we're going to do is just take those cracks away to help you see this a little bit better. And that really is why we collect these stones, is so that we can understand how, you know, show them to our friends and be all like, oh wow, look at this is cool. And well, it is cool, but it's only cool if it's wet until you polish it. So we're going to start the rough polish today and show you how far we can get along and how much clarity you can get just from, I mean, even a rough polish is going to make this really pop. So we'll come back to you and we'll show you what that's looking like as we get started. Alright. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this little spray down with some cleaner. I'm going to take a look at the stone. Just kind of evaluate what's going on with it and see if there's any areas that I need to concentrate on in the beginning. Alright. Now this next part's going to be a little loud, so I'll turn the sound down and just play some pleasant elevator music. So as you can see from the work that I've done so far, just working the edge of the blade, sort of just, just working the edge as I come along. You can see that that's already started to get some flat spots and start to smooth out. And what I'm watching for as it goes is I can see, just as I turn the edge and I look at the edge of the stone as I'm cutting, I can just barely see a flat spot getting sanded into the stone as I do that. And each time I try to get it a little shaped and a little contoured. But for me, I want to work with the sort of the shape of the stone. I don't really want to carve it into a shape or anything. I just want it to be organic and just take the rough edges off of it so that it looks nicer when it's displayed. That's all. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to it and see if we can't get this edge a little bit more defined and start taking down some of these rough outer edges. Alright, so we've gotten a fair bit of that smoothed down. Let's see if, make sure I'm showing you this in a little bit. You can start to see that that's getting smoothed off, and see if I can't get that get a dry edge to show you. So you can see that's starting to get a smoothed off edge to it. And really all we're looking for is just ever so much of a smoothing of it. And I'm trying to catch this in the light so that you can kind of get that we're not going for a full polish yet, just getting the rough edges off. We're just going to keep on, and you see how that rind is coming back and we're revealing more of the stone that's inside of it. That's all we're doing. We're gonna keep on working that back, and we're gonna make some more progress, and I'll come back to you and show you where we get. But what I'm gonna do is just keep on working off some of these rough edges, and I'll show you that in just a minute. All right, so we gave this rock a thorough going over with the Dremel, and just scrub this off for a second. Let's get some of that dust from the disc off of it. And first and foremost, you're going to notice it probably doesn't look much different. All we really did was just took just the rough edges off. Just started smoothing it down. Kind of see that a lot of the rough edges are gone, little flatter spots, looking a little smoother. The idea here is just to shave it off little by little, just to get to the smoothest part of the surface, basically just to reveal the stone. We don't want to do much more than that, just to display it, just to let it be seen as it is. Now the alternative to doing that is to use a stone. Now you could use a stone. I'm not going to lie. You could do that. Just take the stone, work the stone back and forth, those circles, all the way over the stone, and it works. Now that'll work. You could do that. I mean, really you could. I mean, there's some people who actually think that gets you a better finish. Now, I'm of the mind that if I do need to use a stone, it would be for like this outer rind, and you can just make quick work of that and just wear it right down. Now you can kind of see where that really just started flattening it right off. And that's one way to do it, really it is, because if you need to shape a stone down, you can see where it started taking it off. You know, that's the material. But if you needed to shape a stone down and just get it kind of rough, you could do that. It would take you a while. See? It's not hard. I mean, you know. And that will make pretty quick work of a stone. You can see that I actually just started shaping it right off. But anyway, these are fun to play with. I mean, ultimately, the more light you can let into a stone, the brighter it'll shine. We can see that started rounding that right off. That does take a bit of time. I mean, you know, that's no small feat. It just took a few minutes, you know, here on camera. But, you know, you go around a bigger stone, you know, I'll use these on big stones. Like when I want to shape a big stone, just, you know, take the rough edges off of it and get something that I can put the yard. I will use one of these. I'll do an entire stone with it. It's not too hard. But, and, you know, for this, I think it's just kind of fun to show you what's possible. If you don't have a rotary tool and you got a whole lot of patience, you could do this. But, you know, manually speaking, you could do it manually. That's essentially how people shaped stones thousands of years ago, was a stone. They used a stone. That's why we call them whetstones to this day, from stone shaping. So anyway, so there's a rough shaped stone. You know, it's just got a little more to go. It's pretty rough. And you can start to see a couple little bands forming, you know, some crystal. But that part is the really cool part. So, now that you know there's a couple of different ways to rough shape stones, I'm going to go ahead and do a little more work on this and get this pretty close to how I would just set it out, you know, because usually what I'll do is I'll just wax them and let them sit as they are. So, I'll come back to you in a few minutes and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so have a look at that. We've gone through, taken off the rough edges, got a bunch of really nice material coming through. You can see we've really smoothed off these edges, gotten that sort of, when I show you from the bottom, you can kind of see what that does more than anything. So that's the rough polish. I think that looks pretty good so far. You really see the light coming through that. That's pretty cool. Well, till next time, guys.